Welcome to the No Fun interview section. I have two people with me who have previous personal or professional experiences with DAGames in the past, and they made a document about it a year ago, but I brought them on to share their personal stories in audio form, so it's a bit easier to digest, as well as to provide some context to these things and that these are real people, I promise. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm, I was a fan since 2018 until I became friends with Will, one of the DAGames owners. In, I want to say 2020, 2021, I'm not sure. I was commissioned by him in late 2022 to make a concert outfit, but that's really all I got. Um, well, that's all I have when it comes to my relation to him. We were friends, but not really.
So you had a professional relationship with Will?
Yeah, I was commissioned once, but that's about it.
Okay, so Pixel, what's your background?
So I was a fan in 2018 to 2023, and I was a fan artist in a server. I did a lot of general fan art and just general art interpretations of his stuff, and I never worked with him like professionally, but I was friends with him during 2023, and we DM'd pretty often for a couple months. Like, we talked in VCs and stuff.
How did that start? Did he notice your fan art and start DMing you, or what?
It was kind of interesting. He was friends with first, and other than the DAGames server, there was another friend server that he was in, and at some point the topic of me came up when he was DMing, and he noticed that I wasn't on his friends list, and he was just kind of confused about that. And so it was just kind of, he thought we were friends already, and so it was around early 2023 that I accepted his friend request, and we started DMing from there. I think we officially started a conversation after an incident with his friend Inu. She was like harassing me for like 2 hours, and I had that conversation with Will. I was like, your friend is doing this, and this is what happened, and here's the conversation that we had. And after that, we just started having normal conversations.
So I guess Will does this where he'll just take people from the fan server and try to build a personal connection?
Yeah. Um. So there's actually this second server that a lot of his friends, including like Lala and Inu, are in. That sometimes just some people get invited to, I guess.
Okay, I guess from what I'm getting at so far is there seems to be a lack of boundaries. Not that it's a bad thing to make friends with fans or anything, but I feel like it's almost competitive if you have, like, a server of people he likes that are also
Yeah.
in the fan server.
Yeah, it's really weird. Yeah. So what happened for me was I was friends with Lala before I was invited to that server. So because I had a mutual friend with Will, me and Lala, I was invited there. It's officially Lala's server, but it mostly gets used for Will stuff.
What exactly is in the server? Is it just like personal jokes or a similar layout to the other server, but just kind of private?
Um, it's supposed to be a friend group server, but it's really centered around Will.
Yeah, they had this rule where if you weren't active enough, you'll get kicked. And if you couldn't go to VCs, you would have to explain yourself, like, oh, I couldn't join VC today because of X, Y, and Z. And generally, from my experience, a lot of people had to cater to Will, like going back on joining the server in general. They used to let people in pretty generally, but then they just kind of restricted access.
Yeah.
Like, the only reason I got in there was because she actually invited me in there. A few times she actually gave out invites, but it's technically a friend server, but they have like not official events, but they do VC a lot, sometimes for like days, and they just generally expect you to be active a lot.
So it seems to me like the whole point of the server is for Will to talk to people and get validation. Is that it?
Yeah, definitely. I remember this one time that me and a friend who was in there were watching, I think it was Hellraiser 4. It was one of the worst Hellraiser movies. We were like cracking jokes and stuff, and like an hour in, Will joined and he got upset because we were talking over the movie when he didn't even choose to watch it. We did.
Were there any minors in the server?
Yes.
Yeah, there were.
I'm not gonna say names, but I remember there being like several, at least.
So I guess it's kind of questionable that he made a separate server to invite mostly fans of his main server, which I guess isn't the worst thing in the world, obviously. But it's things like the boundaries that are weird, the rules as far as VCing that are weird, and the fact that there are minors in there. Were there inappropriate jokes and stuff like that?
Yeah, there used to be an NSFW chat even, and like people would just share their kinks in there and stuff. I remember this. it got deleted eventually, but it was weird. Like, the time I was in there and the chat still existed, I was a minor at the time, I think. I don't remember exactly, I'm sorry, but yeah, it was really sexual and racist and stuff.
Okay, not off to a good start. So that seems to be the running theme with DAGames in general, that they're being inappropriate with minors. They make inappropriate or not safe for work jokes in front of minors, and no one seems to be willing to do anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, sometimes they, like, for forever now, I want to say, they refuse to even acknowledge that there are minors in their audience.
Yeah, I remember that. When the first version of Doc dropped, we were bringing up the point that he was trauma dumping to minors and talking about things that younger kids shouldn't be hearing, and he relies a lot on his fan base for personal support. There's an entire channel in that server dedicated to just giving him specifically support, and the entire move to the server is dedicated by how he's feeling that day. And when we mentioned that in our document, like, hey, he's trauma dumping, he's talking about all these horrible things without a filter to these people.
Yeah.
And people were giving the excuse, well, they're older teens, they're like this age. When in reality, the age range was a lot broader than like 16, 17. There were 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds in there. The broader range is like from 13 to early 20s in that server, and it's unfair to assume that just because it appears that people are older, that you should trauma dump to these people. They did have an NSFW channel on that main server, but I wasn't around when it was a thing.
And what year was this about?
I'm not entirely sure. I remember being there when that channel got deleted, I think.
When did you guys join the server?
I joined the server in May 2018, and it was around then.
I joined in December.
I don't know how long it was around. Like, the server has existed since 2016, but it may have been around since the beginning. I'm not sure, but it was around in 2018. That's for sure.
And another thing I wanted to bring up is that the moderators do not go through formal training, from what I could tell. I was there and he just picked someone and he was like, oh, you should be a moderator now. You've been a friend for long enough. And like I said, he's hired minor moderators. The most recent one just turned 18 last year. They graduated high school last year and they were a moderator the entire time in the server from 2018 to 2023. And I'm 20 now, so they were younger than me that entire time. And as far as I'm aware, I heard they were recommended to someone.
No, they got picked randomly. They got picked randomly. I remember this. Yeah, it was weird. They just got picked for no reason. And they even told me several times in DMs when they were a moderator, like, you should have been it, not me. Because, I don't know, they thought of themselves as not being capable enough to be a moderator, but they still were anyway.
Yeah, I can get the point of having moderators being subjective, but at the very least they should not be minors. They should also know it's actual work and should be okay with whatever work they get. Usually mods are like, hey minor, don't go in the 18 plus chat, or have a question, we'll help you, just like that.
Exactly.
So was the minor activity in both servers the only thing that gave off red flags, or was there any other behavior?
Oh, there's way more. I remember, in the DAGames community, there was a lot of, predators, like groomers and such, and they got exposed, like, monthly sometimes. Like, every other month there would be another one, and they would never get acknowledged by the team. And it was just horrible. This is gonna get very personal real quick, but at some point I was groomed by someone in there, and I exposed them, like, 2 years ago. And I posted it in the server I made a Twitter thread, and I posted it in there. Well, I asked my friend to post it, because I didn't want to do it myself, because I was a public figure at the time in the DAGames community. And it got deleted, like, instantly, because it was just drama tarnishing the brand. And
So to summarize, it's not abnormal for predators to be attracted to online spaces that maybe make fandom content, but it's kind of scary when the mod team is burying it.
One of them literally got arrested for having CP in their possession.
yeah, there's this one guy that got arrested for, like, 34 accounts of child, like, 3 years ago, and they never got acknowledged by the team either.
And he was pretty prominent in the server. He would make animations and stuff.
He was really popular.
And he was kicked once that came out at the very least, right?
We don't know.
There's a probability he probably was, but they do have a thing where, like, if you suspect someone being weird, they will investigate and kick them, but...
It's done very badly. It's done really badly. Like, from personal experience, it's so bad. Like, I tried to come forward about my groomer, like, way before I posted about it. And they were like, hey, do you have proof of this? And I was like, no, I deleted those chats because I don't want to see that shit. And they were like, okay, you can get him back. And I was like, okay, how? Kids, fucking help me, because I was panicking. And they were like, figure it out yourself. So you're going to tell a child in a panic state to just figure it out themselves, or otherwise we're not going to do anything. It's really weird. I don't know. I'm getting heated. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's just so fucking dumb to me that they don't do the bare minimum, or just like don't have a server that's open to minors.
It reminds me of last year when he was doing a set list for MomoCon, and he has these killer robots, and he was going to describe in detail how they kill people, and I was asking, like, well, shouldn't you put a content warning on there? Since most people are like coming for the DAGames stuff. And he laughed at me. He was like, no, why should I do that? I have a song called Mr. Dirty Balls playing. People should know that we're not for kids because that song is playing. And literally the next day, he had to add a content warning anyway. So I just kind of like threw up my hands like, okay, you had to add one anyway, so why were you throwing a fit about it?
Yeah. He gets upset at like the smallest things ever, and it's so annoying. So it's really hard to like come forward about bigger stuff too.
Were any of the other team members supportive when you came forward? Because my understanding is that when you go to Will for stuff, he kind of brushes it off.
Well, he either brushes it off, or he sends HR. The person that's currently HR, usually will just go into your DMs and just be like, yo, don't bring negative stuff to Will. He cannot handle it right now, and he never handles it. So it's frustrating as hell.
And they just made them HR this year.
Is the HR person a public figure?
Not anymore. They did have a Twitter account, but one of the gripes I have is that as an HR person, they live with him. They're friends with everyone in there, so when it comes to certain situations like yours, technically they should not be handling that because they are not a neutral third party.
Does she have like a social presence? Like, is she known for being friends with Will?
Yes, to some degree. To some degree, she's public. When you go into DAGames live stream, she will be there as a moderator. Things such like that.
It seems like the running theme is Will can't handle whatever the conflict is because he can't address it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so let's talk about some troublesome behavior you saw from Will. I know he dated a minor in 2015, and there was a lot of N slurs and a lot of anti-Semitic slurs. Great stuff. Do you have any antidotes or things to share on top of that?
Just recently, someone did some more digging when they found out a live stream clip. I was looking at some site called like Young Porn or YoungPeoplePorn.com, and they did some more digging on the Wayback Machine.
What drove you to make this document? Was it the Predator thing? Like, what was the straw that broke the camel's back, and you just were like, fuck it, we need to write all this stuff down?
I think it was just generally, we were frustrated about a lot of things. We talked to each other, and then we found out about the NSFW stuff. And we decided, nope, this needs to get out there.
That's pretty much how it went. We stumbled across it as well. We were literally just messing around, and that's when we found it. And thought, well, this doesn't look right. And we did some digging, and we were like, this isn't right at all.
So you went back through Will's history and saw the anti-Semitism, and there's one point where he justifies using the N-word as a white person. And I thought that was really sad. So what was the response when he released his first version of the document?
Well, the first version came out, like, really weird. Like, we tried to get, like, fans to see it, so we made a fan account, and then, like, turn it into the release account. It was stupid. That one went really bad. Like, so you can say more about that. Like, it affected you mostly.
Yeah, it just went really badly. We were still fans at that point, and we were just, like, really heartbroken. So the doc was very emotionally charged, and it just had stuff in there that didn't really need to be in there. And then also after he came out trending on Twitter, like 2 mods, one of them was this HR person, came to me and they put me in like a group chat and they told me, you have to fix this. And I'm like, I'm in a college class, I can't fix this right now. But I still had to do this anyway. And after a couple more screenshots came out, the HR person was like, is there anything else that's going on? Because if there is, I'm one step away from flipping switches and ruining lives. And I was really scared at that point. And rightfully kicked me from the friend group because I was so scared of what was going to happen to them. I just ended up throwing them under the bus because I was so scared and under pressure.
Like, we changed the password for the Twitter account and everything because we could not have this go south.
Yeah, and when the second document came out, I reached out again and I was basically confirmed that was what happened. And I put out my secondary statement on Twitter because the initial apology, well, the quote-unquote apology that I made the first time, it went through those two people and it was heavily sanitized. They wanted me to say he apologized in BC, he did this, he did that, and I was supposedly there to witness when he did those things, and as a result, people started disregarding everything as fake, and so I wanted to make that secondary statement to explain that nothing was fake, and I was pressured into writing something I didn't really believe in, and then later those two people would come forward in private and apologize to me for doing that.
So let me get this straight, guys. So 2 official DAGames ambassadors, mods, whatever you want to call them, basically tried to legally threaten you to formally apologize or else waggy finger. Is that basically what happened?
Pretty much. This HR person, she bragged about being a former Kiwi farmer and like digging stuff up about people. So I knew she had a capacity to do those types of things. Those people on those sites do. And I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that to happen to me and the other people who were working there.
Yeah, I was especially scared. I was especially scared because they will commission me. Like, what if they save the packaging, I send his outfit in, and have my address? Like, I was scared as fuck. So I logged you out because I could not have that happen.
Yeah, that's fair.
So what happened after you released the second doc? Did anyone come after you or try to have you reprimanded?
There was this, it was really weird. Like, this time it went okay. Like, we posted it on, like, the Reddit and stuff. And it actually got some reaction, which was really cool. But there was also this one person that either was the HR person or someone pretending to be HR person. We still haven't figured it out because the HR person has a habit of stalking me specifically. And they threatened to, they acted like they were going to sue me.
Yeah, I remember that. It was just horrible. Another thing is the second doc, it just kind of inspired someone to go through the server logs. And they found that people like Chris were going through and deleting all the racist stuff that they said. And they found videos. And they made like a whole archive just going back. That they were like just going back and deleting things.
So Chris got caught being racist and sexist just in general?
Yeah, pretty much.
So before I move on to the last question, can you guys give some context, as much as you can, from the anonymous Chris story that you interviewed the victim for?
So that's actually my best friend who told that anonymous story. So this had to do with her username, which had the word animal in it, and then her name. And so it actually came from that. Like, it was weird. Why did they say that? Why did they think it was appropriate to say that to a 14-year-old they knew was 14?
What took me off guard is that the 14-year-old had met Will before. Was that at a convention?
Yes, it was at a convention.
Okay, cool. At least that's purple.
They're also pretty prominent as a person in the community, so it would be weird if they didn't know how old she was.
Is she still prominent?
No, she got banned, and now she fucking hates their guts, so...
So the whole team has a controlling presence with their fan base and on social media, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So my last question is, unless you guys wanted to add anything else as far as any general stories or experiences or anything.
So as I mentioned before, I was a fan artist, and at the beginning of Iris, I would make interpretations of characters, and Will would go on the chat and say, these interpretations give me anxiety because now I'm scared they're not going to be able to live up to these expectations.
Let me backtrack. What is Iris? Is that a song they've done? I'm not familiar with their content, really.
It's one of his IPs.
Yeah, it's an original story.
Yeah, it's a dystopia thing. There's a lot of characters, but not a lot of them have designs. So what a lot of people like myself did was like, let's make a design on this character based on this very vague description that he had. And people would also make covers of songs too, and he'd get high amounts of anxiety over it. And in some cases, he'd call it defacing. I got caught out for the way I drew one of his killer robots, because he was like, well, now you made my design look like horseshit, even though I heard no one else complaining about his design or anything like that. And then on top of that, a bunch of other artists started apologizing, like, yeah, we're so sorry, we didn't know us drawing this stuff upset you so much, and you never said anything until now. And he made it a rule in the server for a while that you couldn't post interpretations, or you couldn't post covers with more than one instrument or more than one vocal track. And he just now changed that rule. I heard from someone that's still in there that he just changed the rule back to where it was before, so you can do that again.
I can't get over that because that's the stupidest fucking thing. He should be happy that people are making fan art because they enjoy the thing. It's like he's punishing his fans.
Yeah, even on Twitter, someone was asking about it. He's like, well, I'll go forward in making more character designs when I'm sure that they won't be tampered with. And just a lot of extreme words for stuff that wasn't extreme. Being a young artist at the time, I was 16, and that was devastating to me. And when I was telling him, this really hurt when you said that, he was like, well, don't have a cow, it's not that bad. Without really acknowledging how I felt or how any of these other people felt about that.
That's a problem he generally has. Like, when someone comes forward to him about how he hurt their feelings, it's like, yeah, but it's not that bad. Like, bro, you hurt someone. It's not cool, man.
Oh, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. I mean, the predator shit and the child porn is probably the worst of it. Okay, to recap, so I was going to say it sounds like it's pretty bad between the allowing predators to be in their spaces and not really doing anything about it, or threatening people who make fan art, or Will dating a minor, and Will looking up child porn. I remember seeing that because I thought that was the worst thing Will specifically had done, and then Chris just had the behavior of being sexist and racist too, and gross with minors. So what would you guys like to gain from coming forward on a bigger platform and speaking about your stories?
So my original goal would be, like, acknowledgement of this stuff happening, but, like, I don't think that's gonna happen. Like, ever. Being realistic. I don't know exactly what I want anymore. Like, I just want this stuff out there, I guess. That's all I can do.
What I personally think is Will needs to take a break from the internet because this sounds really unhealthy from a third-party perspective.
This is going to sound really mean, but I don't think he's capable of taking a break from the internet. I mean, he went on a camping trip with his family, and he was on his phone and was in voice calls the entire time. So even then, when he was supposed to be out in nature, he wasn't taking a break. There's multiple times he said he'd leave Twitter, and then he never did. I believe someone caught him lurking because he was pretending to be off of Twitter, but then, he retweets something and then quickly unretweet it. He's on Instagram mostly now, and even now he's pretending to, be offline on Discord.
Something I've noticed too is that people who enable him are dependent on him, like the HR person who's a roommate of his, and is dependent on the channel's income in order to live.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the HR person lives with him and doesn't have a job outside of HR for DAGames. I think we don't know because they're not a public figure. We don't have any connection to them anymore. But I think the only thing they do in their life is sit in Will's house and send out angry emails to us.
This is what the kids call an allegation, something we don't know if it's true, but it's based on a theory and evidence.
Yeah, she used to have a job, as a childcare worker, but she stopped. And then she did, art commission. Yeah, and then she did, art commissions for a while, but then she, fucked up her wrist. So, I don't know what she can do if she has a job.
Sounds like a healthy work environment. So the only time they acknowledge anything wrong is when I retweeted one of the emails a couple of weeks before this recording, and they were like, Chris is taking a break. Chris is taking hiatus, which I think means we're going to wait until this blows over because we're not going to show you any proof that Chris went to any HR training.
I'm going to go out on a limb and allege that he did not go through any training. Like I said, the HR person was only made HR this year. DA is only 4 people. Even emailing and doing the NDA was against the ACAS guidelines. So I don't know what training he would have done if there was any. I think we had a timeline down. Like a day or so after your tweet came out, he left Twitter the day after. He was streaming the night after, and a day or two afterwards, he was saying, I got trained. At what point during that timeline would he be getting trained?
Yeah, and keep in mind, for those who don't remember, I had the original conversation with HR a year ago. And I was feeling antsy because I wanted to make a video for a while, and we were waiting for the right time, and then this blew up, and I'm like, this would have been great a year ago. But ideally, it doesn't sound like the team is even safe to make content because of their influence around others. Will himself dated a 17-year-old when, how old was Will?
22 to 23.
Ugh, great. So when you date a 17-year-old, regardless of when it happened, you should know better. like Chris telling the story regardless of when it happened, he should know better. So I guess we'll hope for the best. I think at the very least, if there's going to be any changes, they have to show proof and a plan, or else no one's going to believe them at this point, I think. A public apology is probably a good start.
Yeah, that's like the big thing. Like, you would think that nobody would believe what DA are saying, but they do, and it's weird. Like, even when you show them proof, they're like, no, it's fake, you're just haters. Like, their fan base is very, their fan base is, like, very, they just really want to believe that they're good people when they're not, because Lord knows why, actually.
It's because he built up a parasocial relationship with them.
True.
Even with the lolly thing, when we told people about that, they were so like, well, actually he was using it to test a bot. And I'm like, well, why is it still there? And it wasn't even in the same server. Again, the fans have a very parasocial relationship. You have this mature 20-something-year-old telling you all his deepest secrets and stuff, and all his childhood traumas, and you feel closer to him. And on top of that, you have this whole Discord channel dedicated to just giving him support. You're encouraged to look at his Discord status and see what state he's in. When I was younger, he'd even go as far as to like delete his Twitter account and like threatening to delete the YouTube account because he was feeling bad. And when you're put through that over and over again, you want to feel close. You want to feel like this person can't be bad. I did all this for him. Or I went through all this for him. And I'm just sorry. I'm getting really a bit heated here because, again, I went through all of that, and it's such an emotional, draining thing to go through. It's like, no, you shouldn't be doing this to 13 and 18-year-olds. You shouldn't be telling them all these things. Like, I'm going to delete my YouTube channel where, you know, when I was bullied, I got my head bashed in.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the worst example I remember is, I think, that he said in his Discord server that he was going to kill himself because his fans were so fucking annoying. I don't have proof of this, sadly, but I remember seeing it.
He posted a suicide note on Twitter.
Right, several times.
And then Chloe had to come out and say, no, guys, he's fine. And then he just, like, he never deleted it afterwards.
And he didn't kill himself, he's okay.
He posted several times, like, while he was in a hospital as well.
Yeah, I remember this happening when I just was a fan, like, like, 2018, 2019, this was happening a lot. And, like, I felt super close to him when I literally just knew him for, like, 4 months. It was weird, like, I felt this super close connection to him, and now I understand why, and it's so fucking awful.
On that note, do you guys have any advice for people that are kind of in similar shoes that you were when you were finding all this stuff out?
Talk to people. Talk to people, like, you're not alone going through this, like, please talk to people, even people that are still fans, like, talk to them. And it's okay if you don't feel okay going through this, because it's fucking hard. Having to sever a connection that feels so close and personal to someone who turns out to be a terrible person. Like, it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel sad for the things you lose. It's okay. Like, you're gonna be fine. Talk to people.
Yeah, I agree that wholeheartedly. Like, just talk to people. One of the driving factors that led me to become friends with again is that I talked to someone about everything that happened, and I suggest to talk to people who are outside of the server, go to different servers, and just know that this is not how things are supposed to be. Like, I talked to a friend who had nothing to do with DA or anything, and they were like, that's not normal. That's not something that should be happening on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think that's a good note to end on. Therapy's good, guys. Alright, well, I guess on that note we can end. Thanks everyone for being here and telling your stories. It sounds like a hot mess.
It is. Like, it's so messy right now. Like, on the DAGames subreddit, currently they're, like, censoring words. You cannot say the number 11 anymore. Shit like that. It's stupid.
And if you try to post anything without context, I was trying to post context of what was going on earlier, and they just deleted it immediately.
Yeah, they nuke it instantly. Like, I got banned from the Reddit.
As someone who took a media literacy course, this is not how you deal with backlash. You apologize, but it's kind of hard to recover when you have minors and predators in the same space and you haven't really done anything about it. These are really serious issues that aren't like a oopsie, so...
No, they're dealing with it so badly, like, it's embarrassing for them.
I know, I heard through a mutual friend that they originally weren't going to say anything because they didn't see a reason for it. They were like, oh, there's no reason for it. It's going to go away.
All right, thanks everyone for listening.
Yes, thank you.